I'm Indie and I'm going to be teaching a 60-minute yin and meditation class. This yoga class is with the Whole Health Project. It is a donation-based class, so I will be posting the link below for how to reach my PayPal. The suggested donation is £5, but if you're in a sticky position, as lots of us are, no worries at all. I will just go over and add my PayPal now. So for anyone that's just joined, I'm going to be doing a 60-minute yin and pranayama workshop-y, classy kind of thing. So to start with, just come to lying down, flat on your back, with your eyes closed, and take some deep grounding breaths. Just going to wait a few moments to see if anyone else is being streamed on the Whole Health Facebook group, but also on my Instagram. So I'm looking at 2 cameras here. So again, if you're just joining, lying down flat on our backs, on the ground, legs straight out in front of you, and just take some deep breaths. Eyes closed, in through the nose and out through the mouth. To anyone that's done an online with me before, I'm still trying to get used to teaching a class where the people are not in front of me. I find it really, really weird not being able to give hands-on assists and answering questions, but I am in here completely by myself. There's no one else telling me that anyone's asking questions, so I will try and check to see if anyone's asking any questions. But we know our own bodies, so please don't push yourself. Know your body's limits. If you have any injuries, please just be aware of them, and if anything hurts, come straight out of pose into either lying flat on your back or child's pose or whatever feels good for you. But yeah, obviously I'm not there to help you properly one-on-one. So just with bearing that in mind, come to lying flat on your back if you're not there already, with your eyes closed. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Just following your own breath pattern, without judgment and without trying to change anything. Just taking our time to settle in to the moment, to settling in to being present and forgetting about everything else that's going on, which I know is hard to do right now. But do remember that whilst you're here, lying on your mat or on a towel or whatever you've got, there is nothing you can change. There is nothing we can change in this moment whilst we're here. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of knowing that you don't have to do anything for the next hour. Make sure you're taking full breaths, so filling up all the parts of you. Your chest, your belly, your back, everything's expanding. I'm just going to double check that everything's working okay. Amazing. So whilst you're lying here, breathing, I'm just going to go into slightly what yin yoga is, because I know a lot of people don't practice yin yoga. It's not the most well-known style of yoga. So yin yoga is the slower, more passive side of yoga. It's where we slow down. We bring all of our focus to our breath. I know yoga in general is focusing on breath, but in yin we have the chance to use our breath in our yoga in the way of calming us and grounding us more, rather than in yang versions of yoga where you're using it to control your postures and the shapes that you're making and the movements you're doing. It's used slightly differently in yin. So yin can be quite an uncomfortable style of yoga. So there's a big difference between pain and feeling slightly uncomfortable. If anything hurts, please come straight out of the pose. We're creating positive stress on the joints, and we're really working into all the ligaments and the soft tissues in the body. So it's not meant to feel super comfortable. So if it's feeling a bit achy, try and stick with it, breathe through it. The biggest difference between yin yoga and other styles of yoga is that in yin we hold the poses for up to 5 minutes. And that sounds like a long time, and it can feel like a long time in some poses, but it gives us a chance to really go inwards and focus on our breath and really give deep stretches to these ligaments and tissues that we often don't give enough attention to. So yin yoga is really good for chronic pain, chronic stress, anxiety, depression, injuries if you're doing it the right way. Obviously I can't help personally right now, but usually it can be really good for injuries. Flexibility, it's good for loosening up everything a bit. But the best thing about yin yoga is it sets off the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the system of our body that takes over when we're sleeping. So the rest and digest system, it's called sometimes. So our blood pressure drops, heart rate drops, our respiratory rate drops, so everything starts to slow down, but our digestive system speeds up. So everything's going through quicker, and your body is focusing on, it's also the glands of the body, so the endocrine system, all of that and the digestive system are sped up, but everything else is slowing down. It's really good for feelings of stress and anxiety, so what a lot of people are going through right now. So like I think I've said it, it doesn't matter if you don't have any experience in yoga, that's not going to bother you too much today. I'll be going through all the poses with you, and I will be showing you how to get into each one. So now that we've gone through that, we'll get into our pranayama. So pranayama means it means breath work, breathing. Our life force energy is what it translates in Sanskrit. So we'll go to a pranayama technique today that is diaphragmatic breathing, or belly breathing, or Buddha breathing, whatever you want to call it. But we're going to be lying flat on your back, as you hopefully are already. We're going to bring our left hand over our chest and our right hand over our belly, just below the belly button, and just take some normal breaths, whatever's normal for you, without changing anything or judging anything. take a moment here. And then on your next inhale, try and make it so your left hand that's over your chest is staying still, and the right hand that's over your belly is rising and falling. So you're filling your belly up like a balloon, drawing the air all the way down to the bottom of the belly. And then your left hand should be staying still. So in, if you can, in and out through your nose. So if this isn't comfortable for you, you can go in through your nose, out through your mouth. So make sure you're keeping your eyes closed. Really focus on drawing all of the air all the way down to the bottom of the belly. So we're using our diaphragm to its full potential. So the diaphragm goes down and it kind of gives space for the lungs to inflate even more. So we are taking in as much oxygen as we can, and then that gets passed through to the red blood cells, which then obviously gets carried around the body, up to the brain, making us quicker and sharper. More oxygen to all the different organs. So just make sure your focus is your belly rising and falling, and your chest staying still. So with diaphragmatic breathing, this actually sets off the parasympathetic nervous system by itself. So if you're not doing yoga, so like if you're in bed or if you're somewhere in public and you feel anxious or stressed, so belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing like this actually sets off the parasympathetic nervous system just by doing that. So this is a really, really good tool to keep with you. And yeah, knowledge of this it can be really, really useful. Again, make sure, check in that you're still focusing on all your breath being drawn right down to the bottom of the belly. So feel your belly inflating upwards, out to the side. And then when you exhale, make sure you're pushing all of the air out. So we're really giving our diaphragm a little workout. We'll stay here just for a little bit longer. So just in the last few moments while you're here, with your right hand rising and falling over your belly and your eyes closed, you can decide to dedicate your practice to someone that you feel might need the energy you cultivate, might need it a little bit more than you. Or if you want to, you can dedicate this practice to yourself. Just set an intention for the next 45 minutes or so. Do you want to really focus on yourself, this time and this love? Or is there someone that you love or someone you know, or maybe just everyone that's struggling through what's going on right now? People are losing people that they love. Send your energy to them, that you will be cultivating love and energy whilst you're practicing. So if you want to get dedicated to someone else, you can, or to yourself, but just set an intention for how you're going to spend the next 45 minutes. Maybe it's not to push yourself, or maybe it's to really try and dig into your joints and your ligaments and make the most out of this. Or maybe it's to allow yourself to be really calm and truly try and be present. Just a few more moments, just deciding ready, you can come back to your normal breathing. Bring your hands down by your side. And just before we go into our first pose, with your eyes closed, just take a second to give yourself a full body scan. If there are any parts of you that are niggling, maybe aching a little bit, just become aware of them. But what we're going to try and do throughout this class is work on our perspective. So if you can feel something niggling in your knee maybe, or your shoulder, instead of seeing it as a negative feeling or sensation, just become aware of it. So take a step back, become aware of it without labeling it as bad or whatever. And yeah, without putting a label on it, just become very aware of everything. Try not to label it as negative. And then if you want to, you can tap into your energy body, so the part of us that no one else can see, the part that you feel. Today might have been a really good day for you, and if so, really feel that, notice it. But today might have been not so great. I know I'm struggling with being stuck inside and not leaving my house. But again, don't see it as negative or positive, just become aware. So you're looking at yourself as if you were observing it, like it's not yours, but it's someone else's. And whenever you're ready, we're going to come into the first pose. So if everyone is lying flat on their back, we're going to bring both of our knees in towards our chest. We want our thighs towards the belly, knees bent, and the flats of the feet up towards the sky. And you're going to spread your legs away from each other. So we're going into Happy Baby. If it's in your practice, feel free to just go for it. If not, you can grab onto either behind the knees, the shin, ankle, the outside of the foot, the inside, or if you want to, you can take your peace fingers, so your first finger and your second finger, and wrap them around your big toe. Create a little bit of resistance between your hands and your feet, so you're gently drawing your knees closer to the ground and your thighs closer to your belly. So for some people, this pose is not very strenuous. If you've got quite loose hip flexors and your groin isn't too tight, and your hamstrings maybe, but some people find this really, really tough. I do, in classes, I do see that males tend to find this one a little bit harder. And if this is the case, please don't go straight to the feet, because it's not benefiting you. Start there, and then maybe after a few moments you can move up to your ankles, but just make sure that we are maintaining a little bit of tension between the hands and the feet, or whatever you're holding. So make sure your eyes are closed and you're breathing deeply, so we can't really carry on our diaphragmatic breathing here because our belly is being squished by our thighs, hopefully, or somewhere close. So make sure you're expanding the chest all the way through to your back as well. If you want to, you can gently rock from side to side, it's up to you. Or you can stay in stillness, whatever works for you. So I went on my first run in 5 years yesterday, and this pose is usually really, really easy for me, but right now my thighs are on fire. So even if you are the most bendy person in the world, this pose, depending on what you've been doing recently, can be pretty strenuous. So take it easy. So in yin we have something called the edge. So you find your edge by pushing yourself to the furthest point you can push yourself in a pose. So where you literally can't go any further if you tried, and then you pull back just a tiny bit. So let go just a tiny bit, and that's your edge. So in each pose in yin, you can choose to find your edge. And your edge will change throughout the pose. So you might find a couple of minutes in that you can draw your knees a little bit closer, or your hands can go a little bit further up your legs. But right now, find your edge. So pull your feet or your legs or your thighs, whatever you're holding into, pull your knees close to the ground and your thighs closer to your chest. Pull them in as far as they can go until it almost hurts, and then just let go a little bit. And that's your edge. This is where you stay. And it will be the same for every pose we do. Eyes closed. Breathing in through the nose and either out through the nose or the mouth. Just be here, happy baby, for a little bit longer. Maybe see if your edge has changed. Let go of whatever you were holding on to. Extend your legs all the way out and give them a little shake if you want. Bring your feet up so your knees are bent, and we're going to windscreen wipe our knees. So dropping them from side to side like windscreen wipers. Of course, if there's any movement that you feel you want to take in between each pose, go for it. This is just a suggestion. And then whenever you're ready, push yourself up to seated. And we're going to come into Baddha Konasana. If you have a pillow, I should have said this at the start, but I didn't. A pillow would be great for this one. It's not necessary, but it might be more comfortable for you, so maybe grab one if you want to. I'll show you where to use it. So we're going to bring the flats of our feet together, and we're going to create like a diamond shape with our legs. So you can have your feet as close to you as you want or as far away, but what we don't want is your feet super close and your knees up like this, because it's not sustainable for 5 minutes or so, and you're not really getting into the pose. It's not the point of the pose. It's not the stretch you want. So find somewhere that's comfortable for you. So your knees, it's comfy for your knees to stay there. And then take a deep breath in and then out. And this is where you can use the pillows. So what you can do is just lean all the way forwards. So you're leaning over your feet. You can put your arms out in front of you with your palms upwards if you'd like. But then what you can do is grab your pillow for your head to rest on. If you have a block, which I'm assuming most people don't, but if you do, you can use your block to rest your head on. A lot of people might literally be like this, which is absolutely fine. And if that's the case, get a few pillows. But you can, it's absolutely fine for you to be resting on a pillow like this. So I will ask you to find your edge. So maybe if you've got like 3 pillows stacked up, see if you're kind of leaning on the pillows, if you're using the pillows so you're not actually getting into the pose. Take one away maybe. See if you can fold a little bit deeper, but I don't want you to pull on your feet, which I see a lot of people do. Again, that's not the point of the pose. It's yin it's a restorative kind of yoga, so we're not pulling or pushing anything further than it should go. So imagine that you're allowing your spine to relax, so you're creating space between the vertebrae, but you're letting it relax. And let your head hang heavy, so it's almost pulling the spine down a little bit. So following the natural curvature of the cervical spine, so the top part. Make sure we're breathing deep here. So when you're taking these big breaths, and maybe try and send it to your back so you can feel your back expanding. So obviously our lungs are going all the way around. We think of our lungs being here at the front, but they go all the way around and our ribs go all the way to the back. So when you're taking a breath in, feel your back expanding and growing. If you haven't found your edge, make sure you find it now, so go as far down as you can and just back a little bit. So if this is enough of a stretch for you, then please stay exactly as you are. But if Baddha Konasana is in your practice anyway, then feel free to extend the legs outwards and then lean forwards. If you want to, you can give it a go, and if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel good on the knee joints, please come back to the bound ankle pose. So in yin, we practice stillness and silence, which is obviously very different to yang styles of yoga like vinyasa or hatha. So if you feel yourself like you're going to wriggle, try and resist the urge to wriggle. Once you find a version of the pose that works for you, this is why we shouldn't push ourselves in yin, because if it's not sustainable, you're going to be moving around a lot. So try and find a version of each pose that works for you, that you're going to be able to sit in for a certain amount of time, and stick with it. So we're here just for a few more moments. Maybe see if you can push yourself to your edge just a little bit more. When you're ready, push yourself up to a seated position and come back to lying flat on your back. So if you want to, you can do what we did before. So drop your knees from side to side, or if you want, if it feels better for you, you can bring your knees into your chest and gently rock from side to side. Whatever feels best for you, go for it. And then whenever you're ready, make your way to a tabletop position. So sometimes yin poses aren't quite as restful as others. So this next pose focuses a lot more on the joints rather than the parasympathetic nervous system and the relaxing side. So we're just going to do it not for 5 minutes, but just for a couple. So if you start in all fours, it's called a toe squat. And we're just going to go onto our tiptoes behind us, like that. So the ball of your foot, try and get it towards the ground. And to start, we're just going to do that. You can see how that feels for you. And if that's enough, you can stay here. If not, slowly get your glutes towards your heels and see how that feels. And if this is fine as well, or if this feels like enough, you stay here again, find your edge. And if you want to, you can sit up and bring your weight onto your heels and the back of your legs. So this is not the comfiest pose, but it works on some joints and ligaments that we tend to neglect. So our feet, the tops of our feet, all the little joints in our toes, and our shins. Actually, this is a really good stretch for your shins. Close your eyes. If you want to, you can bring your hands to your lower belly, and you can go back to your Buddha breathing, your diaphragmatic breathing. This is one of my least favourite yin poses, so I'm in it with you here. Remember, find your edge. Are you at your edge? And if it feels like it's really uncomfortable, remember, just try and take a different view on it instead of labeling it as a bad feeling. Just be aware of it. Try not to wriggle around, try not to come out of it. Make sure your shoulders, are you tensing up? Your shoulders away from your ears. Are you hunched over? Remember, unless it's actual pain, this is not harming you. So for me, it's feeling really uncomfortable, which means I probably need it. So I'm trying to bear with it, breathe through it. And rather than seeing it as a negative pain, a negative feeling, I'm just aware of it. Just here for a few more minutes. I can actually feel my edge shifting. It's not quite as uncomfortable as it was at the start. And for a few more breaths. Whenever you're ready, bring your hands out in front of you. Oh my God, let your feet go. Give them a bit of a smack on the floor. And then we're going to push back to child's pose, extended child's pose. So hands all the way out in front of you, glutes towards your heels and head towards the floor. I don't know about you, but my toes hurt. So move them about if you need to. And if you feel like you want to do anything else, go for it. Oh. Any organic movement that your body needs, you can go for that now. If not, we're in child's pose just for a little bit. You can gently rock from side to side here, rolling your forehead on the floor like a little massage. Breathing deep into our back. We've got a lot of of space in this pose to breathe into the back. Just make sure you're expanding. Everything's expanding every time you inhale. So staying in extended child's pose, we're going to take our left hand out towards the left, so it's like 10 o'clock, yeah, and then our right hand follows. So if this is confusing you, because I'm not very good at explaining poses, apparently you take your left hand over and your right hand follows, but your body is still staying straight. So this is a nice stretch along the right side. So we'll just be here for a few moments. And then really use your fingertips to draw your hands away from your body, like you're trying to pull your arms out of the socket. You might not feel you have so much of an edge in this pose because it's a little bit more relaxed. But if you do, see if maybe you can use your fingers to draw your arms more over to the left to feel that stretch down the right side. And then when you're ready, come back to the center, and then we're going to walk our hands over to the right side. So I will do it facing forward so you can see. Take our right hand over, and then left hand follows, and then head towards the floor. Remember, use your fingers to pull your arms away from your body, and if you want to, you can try and walk your hands more over to the right. Notice if there's been a change to your breath. Are you still breathing deeply? Has your breath become more shallow as you haven't thought about it? Just here for a few more breaths. When you're ready, come back to center, and we're going to bring our arms down by our side to traditional child's pose. You have your eyes closed here, and either your forehead to the ground, or if you want to come onto one side, that's fine as well. You can rock from side to side if you want to. And then when you're ready, come up to all fours. Walk your hands out further away, and then your chest towards the ground for puppy pose. It's a big heart opener. So you might find that you're just like this, and your chest isn't super close to the ground. That's absolutely fine, but just make sure we're making like a downward slope. So your glutes, your sit bones are all the way up to the sky, chest towards the ground, hands and arms extended out in front of you, and use your fingertips to pull your arms away from your body like you did before. An extension of is you can lift your head and rest on your chin, but that's only if this is in your practice normally, because this would be quite a strain on the neck if not. But if this is available to you, you can come up onto your chin and then up onto your fingertips. We call them muffin hands. Well, I do anyway. So kind of like claws on the ground, so your fingertips are pushing your arms off the ground. Make sure your shoulders are away from your ears and your chin is up. So this is a variation of the pose. If not, it's absolutely fine for your arms to be flat on the floor. And if your forehead doesn't reach the ground, that's fine as well. There's loads of space for us to breathe into our... We've got gravity on our side as well. So you can practice your Buddha breathing here. Again, make sure your eyes are closed. Find your edge if you want to. So see if you can get your chest even lower towards the ground. Extend your arms out even further. Really get into those shoulders so we're stretching out. This is a big heart opener as well. So make sure you're really pulling your hands and your arms away from your body. Your shoulder blades should be closer towards each other, but also make sure our shoulders are away from our ears. Just here for a little bit longer. Just here for a few more moments. And then whenever you're ready, use your hands to prop yourself back up to all fours. And then come back to traditional child's pose. So hands by your side, arms by your side, sorry. Glutes towards heels and your belly and your chest towards your thighs. And if you want to gently rock from side to side here, you can. Take some deep breaths. Fill up your whole back. You can feel the ribs in your back expanding. And before we move into Shavasana, feel free to take any pose that you feel your body needs to take. So we haven't done any inversions, so well, except for Happy Baby. So if you feel that you want to go down into a shoulder stand, you can do that, or you can take downward dog, so it can be a hatha pose, it doesn't have to be yin. So just before we go into vinyasa, just take any organic movement that your body feels it needs to go into. Make sure whatever pose you're in, whatever movement you're taking, you're still breathing deeply. And then whenever you're ready, come to lying flat on your back, ready for Shavasana. If you can, if you're able to, Shavasana is great with all the lights out. So just giving everyone a moment to come out of the pose that they're in and lying flat on their back. Again, if you want to turn the lights out, you can go for it. I usually, if I'm in a class, I put something over my eyes. So traditionally in Shavasana, our legs and our arms are extended out in front of us, so our knees aren't bent. But if you want to, if you've got any lower back pain or anything, you can pop a pillow under your knees. If not, just lying flat on your back is fine. So traditionally, hands and arms out by your side, extended outwards with your palms facing upwards. But again, this is up to you. It's important in yoga in general to do whatever feels right for you, what feels good for you. So for me, I tend to put my hands on my lower belly. I don't know why, I always have. And just take some deep breaths. If your lights are still on and you haven't got anything over your face, that's fine. Just try and keep your eyes closed. I am quite well known for lying in Shavasana with my eyes wide open, which is a very bad habit. You're not getting the most out of Shavasana unless your eyes are closed. So some people might find that Shavasana is one of the hardest parts of yoga because we are completely silent and still. We don't tend to come to this position unless we're going to sleep. So to be lying down with your eyes closed, focusing on your breath, but to be trying not to fall asleep is not something we do commonly, so it can be quite difficult. Your mind will drift and your thoughts will come in and leave, but that's fine. Just allow them to naturally pass through and then allow them to leave again. Just bringing all of your focus to your breath. In and out through your nose if you can. So a few more pranayama techniques that really aid when you're trying to get into meditation, or I also find they really help with sleep. I tell lots of people that have difficulty with sleep to do this, is counting your breaths. So just keep counting up and up and up with every breath you take in. If you're more of a visual person, every time you take a breath in, you can visualize writing the word in your mind, and then writing the word out as you breathe out. Or you can do absolutely nothing. You can lie in Shavasana and just let your body relax. There's usually one person that falls asleep in Shavasana, so if it's you, don't worry. Just breathing deeply. Start to bring some slight movements to your fingers and your toes. And take any organic movement that you feel you need to take. So you can take a full body stretch, or you can pull your knees in really, really tight. Just do whatever feels good for you right now. And then whenever you're ready, we're going to roll onto our side. It can be your right or your left, whatever feels right for you. And we'll stay in the fetus pose just for a couple of moments, just to enjoy the last few moments of Shavasana. And in your own time, bring your hands to the floor and push yourself up to a comfy seated position. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed if you want to. And if you dedicated your practice to anyone, just take a second to think of them. And bring your hands together to Anjali Mudra, to heart center. Take a couple of really deep breaths here, all the way into your chest. And bring your hands to your forehead for kind thoughts, to your mouth for kind words, and to your heart center for kind actions, not just to others but to also yourself. It's super important at this time to be prioritizing your health, your physical health and your mental health. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me. Again, this is on the Whole Health project, the website, on the Facebook group. So this will be up forever on there, so you can practice this whenever you want to. It's super nice to do before bed, I think, or in the evening to wind down. But yeah, so I have, if you feel that this is worth a fiver, you're very welcome to click on the link below. I've posted my PayPal account, but again, please just take this as a gift from me to you if you're struggling like most of us are. I hope this has grounded you and relaxed you and centered you and made everything just a little bit easier.